Many people today have stopped praying. Some never started. Prayer, once a central practice in most societies, has declined dramatically in just a few generations. But why is that? The common explanation is straightforward. People have lost religious faith. Science offers explanations that once seemed miraculous. We are too busy, or simply put, many don't believe there's anyone listening on the other end. But there's a more nuanced perspective I want to share with you today, based on the spiritual work of the Danish author Martinus. According to Martinus, the decline in prayer isn't just about disbelief, it's actually part of a predictable pattern in the development of our consciousness. And it might not be a negative trend that some assume it to be. Found this perspective fascinating as someone who has a PhD and a scientific background. While Martinus' approach differs from traditional laboratory science, it provides logical explanations that connect to our lived experiences. This isn't about blind faith, but about understanding what Martinus calls the eternal world picture. In this video, we'll explore several key insights from Martinus. Firstly, why prayer often leads to disappointment when it conflicts with deeper cosmic laws. I'll come back to that. Secondly, how developing human intelligence inevitably clashes with religious traditions that demand faith over understanding. Thirdly, why a focus on materialism is a natural but temporary phase in our spiritual development. So let's get started and dive into the main bulk of the video. When prayer feels ineffective or random, it's tempting to abandon it entirely. According to Martinus, the primary reason prayer seems to fail is fundamental misalignment between what we are asking for and how cosmic laws actually operate. This isn't about whether you are sincere. You might have the purest intentions. The issue lies in the nature of the request itself when measured against underlying cosmic principles. Martinus identified specific types of prayer that are inherently misaligned. First, prayer that asks reality to violate its own fundamental laws. If you pray for the earth to stop rotating or time to reverse, that request itself is incompatible with how the universe works. Secondly, prayers that interfere with necessary developmental experiences. When we pray to prevent suffering for someone we love, we might actually be asking to interrupt essential growth experiences they need. Our loving intention doesn't change the cosmic necessity of certain experiences. There's a lot of explanation and unpacking in this one, but I will leave it for that for now. Third, there will be prayers that ignore causes and effect. When we ask for expertise without or success without preparation, we are asking to bypass natural processes. This helps explain inconsistent prayer results without blaming the person praying. It's not that your faith wasn't strong enough or you didn't pray right. Instead, certain requests simply cannot be fulfilled because they contradict the deeper order of cosmos or reality. It's like asking water to flow uphill. It won't happen. But practical disappointment isn't the only factor. What happens when the ideas surrounding prayer directly conflicts with our developing critical thinking? That intellectual friction is what we'll explore next. So let me know in the comments if you think that praying and critical thinking is crashing. Beyond practical disappointment with prayer comes a deeper intellectual challenge. As people develop critical thinking skills through education and life experience, they often encounter a fundamental clash between their reasoning minds and traditional religious frameworks. Traditional explanation around prayer frequently present concepts that don't just lack explanation, they can seem actively illogical or morally questionable to a critical thinking person. Martinus identified this collision as a major explanation for the decline of prayer. So, what specific ideas create this friction? First, the concept of an, and this is a hard word, anthropomorphic God who requires appeasement, grants arbitrary favors, or inflict punishment. To an evolving ethical and intellectual mind, this God that requires all these things of us can feel primitive or unjust, more like a temperamental human ruler than a cosmic intelligent living being. Second, the doctrines suggesting that belief alone, rather than understanding and aligning action, secures divine favor or removes consequences. This conflicts with our natural understanding of cause and effect that we observe everywhere else in life. Third, the explicit demand for blind faith, being told you just have to believe or God's ways are mysterious when asking reasonable questions. This directly opposes the very function of intelligence, which is to analyze, connect, understand, and know. For a thinking person seeking coherence, being asked to suspend critical thinking becomes increasingly difficult as we develop as living beings. The important point Martinus makes is that this departure isn't a moral failing or sin. It's a natural, predictable stage of our development. When existing religious frameworks rely on dogma that intelligence cannot logically assimilate, the person naturally outgrows them. This validates the experience of many who feel alienated by traditional religion. Their questioning isn't spiritual deficiency, but intellectual growth. Prayer declines because the explanations offered simply don't meet the needs of the evolving consciousness, the evolving intelligence, if you like. So, what happens next? When someone leaves behind traditional frameworks, traditional religion, where does their focus turn? After becoming disillusioned with prayer's inconsistency and rejecting unsatisfying dogma, Martinus identifies a third common stage, a strong focus on materialism. Having discarded spiritual framework that no longer makes sense, it's natural to turn attention entirely towards what seems solid and verifiable, the physical world and the power of human intellect to understand and manipulate it. Prayer begins to seem like naive superstition compared to the tangible successes of science and technology. This isn't necessarily negative. Martinus saw it as an understandable consequence of the previous stages. Intelligence, having found the old answers lacking, focuses where it can find clear cause and effect, relationship, and retrieve demonstrable results. This manifests as a strong belief that scientific knowledge, technological advancement, career success, or material wealth are the primary reliable path to security and happiness. The focus shifts entirely to mastering the physical world, assuming that if we just get material conditions right, life problems will be solved. Philosophical or spiritual questions might be deemed secondary, unprovable, or simply unimportant compared to the tangible progress that now is the main focus, the materialistic world. This stage can involve immense confidence in human intelligence alone to solve all problems. Understanding this stage helps explain why prayer continues to decline. It represents the intellectual destination many arrive at after leaving traditional belief systems behind. Prayer seems to belong entirely to the unproven, non material category that has been discarded. However, Martinus points out the inherent limitation of this purely materialistic focus. While intellect and science achieve wonders materially, they don't in themselves guarantee immunity from deeper forms of suffering like loss, heartbreak, existential angst, or the feeling that something is missing despite the material success. Life inevitably presents challenges that material solution alone cannot fix. This eventual encounter with the insufficiency of pure materialism is what, in Martinus' framework, can eventually prompt a renewed search for deeper meaning. Not a return to blind faith, but a search for logical spiritual principles. We have explored Martinus' perspective on why many people, especially in our analytical modern world, have moved away from traditional prayer. We have seen it's often not just simply disbelief, but stems from logical resonances, disappointment from misunderstanding prayer's mechanism, intellectual clash with dogma that doesn't satisfy a reasoning mind, and an understandable focus on materialism after leaving older frameworks behind. What's powerful about this framework is that it reframes the departure from praying not as a failure or endpoint, but as a natural and unnecessary stage in human development. Questioning, seeking logical understanding, and even periods of intense focus on the material world is part of the very process that eventually leads toward a deeper, more consciousness understanding of life's cosmic dimensions. Understanding why traditional prayer loses relevance naturally leads to the next question. Is there an alternative? Is there a way to think about focused intention of prayer that is compatible with a logical, modern mindset? According to Martinus, the answer is yes. His framework or his world picture doesn't just explain why things don't work, it details the principle of what it does. If you found this analysis insightful, then you'll definitely want to watch my video, What Prayers Actually Work. That video explores the crucial difference between selfish and unselfish request and how to approach intention consciously. You can find the link in the description below. You can also read Martinus' own work at Martinus DK, and I will have more videos coming up about the Lord's Prayer, which Martinus gives a scientific explanation of how it works and why it works. If this exploration provided you value or a new perspective, please give this video a like. It generally helps us discover the content. And if you want to continue exploring life's biggest questions through the lens of Martinus' world picture, make sure to subscribe to the channel. I also love to hear thoughts in the comments. Did any of this resonate with you in any way, or did it not? Simply put it resonated or it didn't resonate. So thank you for joining me on this exploration. I hope it offered you some food for thought, some value, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Thank you.